Welcome back. So, I have been seeing a lot of inquiries online after WrestleMania regarding The Rock. A lot of people were wondering, why didn't The Rock show up? Why wasn't he there? We were promised The Rock. The Rock was part of assembling John Cena and Travis Scott, and some would say facilitated or helped facilitate the heel turn for John Cena at WrestleMania in the main event. Some folks were expecting to see The Rock there and were disappointed when it turned out The Rock did not show up and it was just Travis Scott. Me personally, and I've stated this in my previous video of my reaction overall to WrestleMania 41, I thought having at least Travis Scott there helped kind of seal things up. Cody was able to get his receipt on Travis, and John Cena was able to take advantage of that moment with Travis Scott and take out Cody with the belt and win his 17th World Championship. After WrestleMania, The Rock ended up doing an interview for the Pat McAfee show, and this topic came up as to why The Rock was not there, why he didn't show up. Now, there's been a lot of online reactions. Some people are not too happy about The Rock's response, so I thought I'd go ahead and check it out, see what he said, and then, of course, I will share some thoughts and my perspective on this whole thing.
As we got closer to Elimination Chamber, we were kicking ideas around, myself and Triple H, and that's the fun part, by the way. I've been kicking ideas around with Triple H for 20 years, dude. Just always having a great time with him and Nick and my team as well. And Triple H said, you know, what about this? What about John turning? I said, I love it. I love it. The next question is you got to talk to John, see how he feels about it. And, you know, in a moment where you have this shift and click moment, and it happened to me when I was a pure baby face. I got booed out of the building around the world, and they took the title off me my rookie year, and they sent me home the summer of 97. And I didn't know what I was going to do.
Yes, we know the story.
I just knew this is not going to work for me. I don't even know if I have a future in pro wrestling. I get a call from Vince and says, I'm going to bring you back as a heel and be part of the Nation of Domination. I said, that's great. I love it. But just give me 2 minutes on the microphone to speak from the heart. And he did that, and things changed immediately that night. It's the same thing with John. John loved this idea of turning heel, but he's like, but you know what? There's an anchor here that I'm going to root it in, which is a real thing that I've been experiencing over the years, past 20, 25 years.
Yeah, makes sense.
When we were moving forward with John, and this idea of him getting crowned at WrestleMania and becoming 17 and turning heel, and then being a heel champion, I knew then the best thing for the final boss, we've established this idea of Cody's soul. We can always come back to it. I did feel, and I made the call, I don't want to be involved in that. Step back. Let the final boss step back into the shadows. Let all the spotlight go to John. Let it go to Cody. Let's not make it about Cody's soul eventually or John's soul. No, let's let them do what they do. And I called John after Elimination Chamber, spoke to him, called Cody, and I said, I think the final boss's work is done. We've established it. We just pulled off the greatest angle in the history of professional wrestling, other than Hulk Hogan turning heel back in the 90s. I said, this is amazing. We have 6 weeks. Now, let's build. You guys go and crush it, and I'll be right there with you, and I'm always here if you need me, but I think it's best for the final boss not to be involved in that finish. You guys go. So they had 6 weeks to plan for that. So I love the finish of the match. I would have finessed things a little differently on how they got there, but that's just me creatively. There are a lot of minds in the room. That's my thought. But still, ultimately, the bottom line was I love John getting 17. And I never had a concern about John pulling this off. My thoughts are always to Cody because of what we've established with him and his story and the kind of babyface that he is. So if done right, and I think if finessed right, and if nuanced right, down the road, that guy not only has an incredible babyface run again as champion, but also just an unheard of run as a heel.
Yeah.
Down the road.
Let's talk about you saying the final boss needs to step away to, kind of let the spotlight be where it should be with John and Cody, who, potentially you talk about John being the GOAT. There's a chance Cody, when it's all said and done, is also trying to vie for a spot on that Mount Rushmore rock with his dad on the backside with you raising your eyebrow. A lot of people just assumed you were going to show up. So when Travis Scott comes out, they think there's a chance of maybe, there's going to be a reunion from the Elimination Chamber. What are your thoughts on Travis Scott getting involved and you saying, I need to stay out of that?
Good question.
Was there ever a moment where anybody was trying to tell you differently? Like, no, Final Boss, anytime you're around is a good thing, not a bad thing.
No, well, they don't have to say anything like that to me. And they know when I come to them, and them meaning Triple H and Nick and Ari as well, and I lay this out and I say, hey, here's how I really feel it should go. We can insert Final Boss in the end of this finish, but then where do we go? There's other commitments that I have, and I want to also be careful that we're not overstepping and leading over our skis too much here. Can get involved in the finish, and I said, but why get involved in that finish when the spotlight should just be on, in my opinion, John, 17, heel champion? What does 2025 look like if this man is saying he's going to ruin professional wrestling? That, to me, is the anchoring storyline. It's not Soul right now. Right now, it's not. But by the way, we'll go back to it.
We'll still got it. Yeah. Still
we'll go back to Soul. Look, I can't take the text that I got and from the guys that I got, who are these top guys who are saying, one in particular who I love is my guy. I call him the Superman of the company. He's like, listen, my soul's for sale when it's time. And I said, I love it. Let's do it. So, look, I love Travis Scott involved, and I'll tell you why. Because he loves wrestling. He's a huge fan, and he respects it. He's working his ass off. I know that he has plans to train with Booker T. I don't know if it's happening already. It might be. Not quite too sure there on his schedule, but he loves the business. Now, I was just as surprised to see Travis Scott as well, and I knew the moment I saw Travis, well, that immediately amplifies, well, here comes the final boss. And so again,
yes,
I love. Yes. I mean, that was it. They were waiting.
Yeah, I think I texted you. I texted you as it was happening. Holy shit!
You were like, "Are you coming out?" And I was like, "No, dude. I would tell you if I'm coming out. I'm not kayfabing you." But again, I loved at the end of the day, North Star, John Cena, heel champion, 17, the GOAT, says he's going to ruin wrestling. Now we tune every week in every week to see how it happens, how that goes down. Some parts of it I would have just adjust a little bit more. I would have finessed it a little bit more.
But it was a great WrestleMania. I think you all should be incredibly proud.
Would
have been awesome for
oh man.
Just, the place would absolutely ape shit, but the next time it does, it will go crazy.
Even if you don't believe him, to me, and call me crazy, but it makes sense. I can agree with the fact that him not intervening in that match really gave the spotlight to John Cena winning his 17th championship. You really got to allow him to take in that moment and the crowd to kind of really lean on him as the new champion and the new heel moving forward. Having watched the Raw after WrestleMania, I think he was able to steer things in the direction that he wants to go, John Cena, that is. I get it. I understand expectations when we had such a big moment at Elimination Chamber with The Rock giving Cody the ultimatum and saying, hey, are you with me or are you against me? And then completely out of left field, John Cena's the one that actually sides with The Rock. It was huge. Like he said, it was a big heel turn. Some would say as big as when Hogan joined NWO. However, I think it's one of those things where last year at WrestleMania 40, the main event was so huge. There were so many surprises. There were so many different people involved, so many different story elements, things from the past. And I think perhaps people were expecting the same level of finish as we got last year, and rightfully so. However, one thing I've come to know with wrestling is that while, and I've said this in previous videos, while there are things that we would love to see, there are things with the story as far as ways it could go or characters that could be included And sometimes it goes that way, and sometimes it doesn't. Yeah, it's disappointing when it doesn't go the way that we predict. However, as being a fan, we want to see, or at least give them a chance to see where they will go from here. And I think The Rock said it there. It's not like they can't ever come back to the selling of the soul storyline, and The Rock is going to be there. So he could come in and we'll remember. I just think people had a certain expectation for the main event for night two, given what they saw at last year's WrestleMania. And when they didn't get that and they got Travis Scott instead of The Rock when they were expecting both, it was a bit disappointing for them. And I get that. Do I think that that completely throws out the whole event or throws out the whole night or the whole main event? I don't think so. I still think it was a solid match. I think John Cena was able to do a lot in the ring and make a lot of things happen. He did actually have a wrestling match with Cody, and he came out on top, and he did it in heel fashion. He got the crowd over, and that's the thing. If you were watching, you noticed the crowd had completely turned against Cody, was booing him nonstop, and when John Cena won, there was a huge pop, and they were all behind him. And John Cena was able to actually feed that into his promo on Raw after Mania and actually explain why this doesn't make sense, why he's justified in his viewpoints as a heel, and how he feels that the fans don't have loyalty and it really doesn't matter what they think because they're just going to do whatever he says at the end of the day. He proved his point. So I think he's able to take it from there. I think John Cena is still a huge name and a huge draw, and him winning the title and him being in that main event still did massive numbers and things for WrestleMania. I understand the initial disappointment when we didn't get The Rock and we didn't get the tie-in with the whole Soul storyline. I get it. However, does it mean that this is the worst WrestleMania ever and the worst finish ever? I still think this was a solid show. I'm still okay with John Cena getting his moment and getting his 17th championship. And again, it leaves doors for things down the road. You really don't know. There's that suspense of where the story could go. And that's WWE. They can shift things on a dime. I don't know why people are surprised. They've done this before where things are going a certain way and then something happens that just ignites and then they go in that direction and they roll with that. It's just kind of the nature of the beast. Sometimes that's easier for others to accept. I'm able to kind of see what worked well. I'm not saying you can't have negative feedback. Not saying that everything's always going to be perfect, but to say that this was the worst main event or that WrestleMania was mishandled or it was a disaster, I just don't see that. I think there was plenty of things to love in both night one and night two. There were plenty of solid matches. There's a huge roster of talent. If you are a wrestling fan, you can certainly find things to like about WrestleMania itself. Those are my thoughts on this whole situation. Let me know what you think. Am I wrong? Should The Rock have come out? Do you think that would have added? Do you think that the Soul storyline should have continued? Or are you okay with rolling with what John Cena wants to do in his heel run as the 17-time champion? We do know that Randy Orton is starting a feud with John Cena, so that's coming up as well. That's down the pipeline. Who knows where that could go? That could also spark some popularity. What do you think about that? Share your thoughts. I'd love to know. This is Tubu's Tube. Thank you again for tuning in. If you like what you saw, please consider leaving a like. And if you wanted to join the ride, also consider subscribing to the channel. Take care. Peace out.